things. Really excited to get his view up and on things, and then also has his own training facility, training up the best of the best talents in the future. Anthony Floyd joins us. So as we're getting ready for the NFL draft next month, and I know I'm going to be doing 3 of my mock drafts up and onto here, but this is defensive heavy. I love the fact of looking at this because it's mostly predicated to the secondaries, not only just for the edge rushers and even for the defensive tackles, but you're getting, some really good safeties, Caleb Downs. You've got some really good corners that are coming up and into this draft. I really do think that if teams are needing an upgrade, especially with the secondaries to try to match with speed against receivers and the one-on-one physical matchups, I think this is going to be an interesting one for teams that really are looking for sparks on the defensive side of the ball. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. I think that this is the first year where really the DBs and the secondaries are really the focus. The receivers put up outstanding numbers. When you're looking at Jamar Chase, you're looking at Jefferson, Puka, and it's just every team has that guy that's going to be catching 120 balls. So you got to be able to match up. I mean, like I said, when you get people like McDuffie that's getting a little older, then of course you have people, players like the one Diggs down in Dallas. Mm-hmm. You just need more. You need more. Like I said, when these teams are loading up on 2 and 3 receivers, like I said, the Commanders went ahead and got Debo last year. So it's not just one receiver. They got that 1-2 punch. So you got to be able to match up.
So, it's interesting, Anthony, because I was thinking about, how much the game is changing and evolving. And I mean, offenses now, it's much more predicated to where you're trying to get, 25 plus points a game up and onto the score on the offensive side, but you still got to be able to have a shutdown defense on top of that, that's stopping the run, that is also, going up on those one-on-ones against some of the top tier receivers. So I think about it this way, is that even after what we watched the Super Bowl, we're starting to see, and even in your playing career, because it was much more physical, and at the same time, people got after it. So where I started to see defensive lines be physical and stopping the run game becoming efficient, because we all know everybody can have their conversations about quarterbacks on any day of the week. But as long as you've got one that manages the pressure and overcomes the adversity and then takes it play by play, then those quarterbacks, they're going to be fine. And plus, that's also predicated to a strong offensive line. So I think we're seeing a lot of the new school stuff that, I'm not a big time stat person because I do care about what I see on the field as well that backs up the stat argument. But I love the fact that we get a chance to see a lot of the old school play still be played in today's game. Like, your thoughts on this, because I think it's evolving pretty quick, but still have the recipe of successes with our old school type of schemes.
Well, defense still wins championships. If you look at last year in the Super Bowl with Seattle, they ran the ball well. They played good defense. San Francisco been very competitive in the last couple of years. They runs the football, play good defense. Philadelphia, they won the Super Bowl. What did they do? Saquon Barkley ran the football, play good defense. And that's what it really comes down to, is when you're pass happy and it works, but you're going to have that game where it doesn't match up. It's like basketball players now. This is March Madness. You live and die by the 3. It looks exciting with the 3. We make them. Then all of a sudden we have off game and we end up losing. So look at that in the playoffs. Like Detroit, we can put up numbers on offense all we want. We get deep in the playoffs. One game where it's not clicking. Houston, one game where it's not clicking. It can cost us. And I think that's where it actually comes down to. Houston was another example. They played good defense last year, but the problem is they didn't run the football well in the playoffs. Then it ended up costing them. But it's the formula that it always been, and I think it's going to continue on.
It's interesting because I break this down with the secondaries, because you were an interception champion up in Louisville. Like, you led the entire college football in interceptions. And to me, safety, I think of it this way, because you got the free safety and strong safety. And to me personally, safeties are the vocalist, much like I look at middle linebackers being the vocalist, but they control it more of how they set in the back ends with the defensive backs that they have paired around him, but also giving that pass communication to the linebackers to set up the fronts and then have somebody as like a spotter even in the middle of the field. And safeties, I've been very remarkable of the play of game from a lot of them, like from Derwin James, who spots everything. He's multitasking. He's getting physical. He's a guy that can go up and at it. When you think of the safety position, like for teams, like let's say I'm a team that I struggle at the safety position. I need to address this. What am I looking for that can really help to boost and upgrade a better defense for us?
Well, a lot of it comes down to a knowledgeable player. Of course, you always want a great player, explosive player, but a knowledgeable player really is the key, because you want to be able to put people in the right position. And that's the thing, because think about this, at linebacker, if the D-line makes a mistake, you're there to help them out. Yep. But then, of course, if at safety, you're helping out your corners, you're helping out the linebackers. If you make a mistake, it's a touchdown. You can't afford to make that mistake. So what happens is you also got the best view, because now linebackers, I can see in the box. Safeties, I can see sideline to sideline. So I can see everything that's going on field. I should be able to see 11 defenders in front of me. 11 offensive players in front of me. So what happens is I got to be in the right fit. I got to know what they're doing. When I was in college, our biggest thing that our coaches allowed us to do, we sat in some of the meetings. On Mondays, we sat in the meetings. We went over scheme and said, hey, you know what? We think we can do this. Me and my other safety, hey, you can do this. I can do this. And what happens was it got to a point where the coaches trust us. So when we're calling the defense, we already know where everybody's supposed to be. If I know where everybody's supposed to be, I can make the play that I need to make. So it really comes down, it's really finding that smart player to be where they're supposed to be. They don't have to be the most athletic. They don't got to be the fastest player. You want them to be smart. You want them to be physical, and you want them to have understanding of your defense.
You're right about field of vision, and then even with the IQ, because honestly, if I went back in time and played up and in high school, I should have tried the safety spot, because I love the fact that I've got all this room. I've got a field of vision to where I see everything. And to me, I was always like, even with my baseball IQ as an outfielder, my biggest thing is see ball, go get the ball, however that you need it to, and then find a way to, relay the ball back up and then get possession back to get your offense back up and out of the field. And to me, it's like, I'm controlling to where I've got my man corners up from there, my slot corner that's going to come up and be that versatile hitter, in some of these areas. But then I also got the other eyes that when the ball is in the air and ain't nobody close to it, go up and get it. Because that's the opportunity where it's either going to be a batted ball or it's going to be a pick, to where now you got the offense and you've done your job. So that's one that I was very, very curious of. But I mean, it's so remarkable seeing these safeties these days. So the Colts last year, it happened in disappointing fashion all the way up and into the end. But to be 8-1 on fire, Daniel Jones really reshaping the team, Jonathan Taylor running the ball as efficient as he was. Now I'm looking at this team. They lost Zaire Franklin. They lost a couple of other pieces up and on defense. Now, they do have Sauce Gardner that's going to be back this up-and-coming year, and they got Laiatu Latu. So I feel as though this is a team that is really not desperate, but they certainly are looking for defensive help. They're looking to try to address this up and into the draft. So if I'm looking at the Colts, I know giving away Michael Pittman, getting at least a little something in return to address that a little later. But then I got Alec Pierce, I got Josh Downs, and A.D. Mitchell. Got to getting these guys work up and on offense. Now I think Lou Anarumo, his philosophy is like, we need to go up younger up and on defense. What's your thoughts on the Colts for this offseason and what they can address up and into the draft? Because I could see them go young on defense and be confident Daniel Jones is their guy for the future.
Yeah, well, it comes on all down to confidence. And like you said, there was 8-1. They had confidence. They was playing well. So what happens is when you have confidence, I can take the extra step. I can do a little more than what I normally do. What happens is when you start losing, you start guessing a little bit. Hey, can I do this? Will this work? Can this work? Now all of a sudden it comes into a losing atmosphere. So I think just going to this off season, it's just really finding guys who fit into your system that's going to come and work every day and with confidence. So when you're getting the guys who had success in college, and I think that's a big part of it, because what happens is when you get guys who sometimes really don't have that success or just know in a program that just really hasn't been on that top tier level, sometimes it takes them a long time to progress. So I would actually go after guys who had a little more playing experience on successful programs and address your positions that way, because now they're focused on, now they're hungry to just add to the veterans that you already had. When you get new guys who really haven't played, they can be great talent. Oh, this great corner, this great linebacker, but it takes them half the season to really get up to speed. It takes them time to really understand how to be a professional. And I think they just need those guys who can come in and be ready to play immediately, no matter what position it is.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Final question here for you. So you have your training with A1 training, and really remarkable work that you do. And especially when you're building a lot of the futures that come into the sport and, really learn something from it. And I've noticed this too, Anthony, is, we've seen a lot of these kids that, have gone for wide receivers, because you're seeing a lot of the top tier wide receivers. They're getting paid the big bucks and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing a wave here that even for some of these wide receivers, they've like when I see the transition of, let me see what he could do at corner. And then all of a sudden they transition and they become premier top tier corners because they're adaptive to speed. Their feet work, of course, is another thing in which they work up and onto their craft. But the field of vision, and then not to mention to go up one-on-one on contested plays, is something that I think we're starting to see in this league now, where a lot of secondaries are starting to catch on to the speeds of these receivers. So when you do your training program and when you're bringing these kids in, take me into that. Like, I'm a kid. I'm coming in. I want to work up on my craft because I want to be the best version of myself in my position. What does that entail? And yes, building the confidence is also a big part. But even for the techniques and then what to look out for when building up a lot of these future stars that eventually become big-time names in high school, that then end up getting their road into college, and then potentially become future draft pick pros, in the future.
Yeah, for me, it's attention to detail. I look for kids that will be able. They try to perfect the little things, and because what happens is when you have talent. Right now, I'm in Florida. It's a million athletes in Florida, but now I tell them what's going to separate you from the other athletes. It's the details. It's the ones that don't have to get the extra coaching. So if your foot is supposed to be at a certain angle or turn a certain way, turn it that way. If you're don't open up your hips. If your foot goes first, wherever it might be, is the ones who can actually be attention to detail. The other thing is with DBs, I tell them all the time, the ball is yours in the air. There's no thing to say you can't go with the ball. I teach you, especially the good thing about the ones that play receiver, that used to play receiver like I did in high school. I was an all-state receiver. So what happens is when I transition to defense only in college, I use that information that I play receiver and knowing what they're going to do. So the same thing, a lot of these people played offense, was successful offense. It's just defense is their thing to do. So keep going with that. Run their route. You know what their route, you know how they lean, you know how they break down. Let's use that. So what happens is I teach them now is, okay, when they're doing this, this is what the receiver's doing. We're studying receivers in every single movement. Then once you get there, run their route. So balls in the air, you go get the ball. If it's a deep ball, you run and sprint. I teach them don't hand fight down the field with them. Go run after the ball. Race them to the ball. You have the speed, you have the ability. You turn, I turn. Let's go get the ball and let's race the ball. And I mean, that's the same thing when I was in college. That was my mindset. There's no rule to say you can't catch the ball. Like, oh, why'd you get a pass breakup? Why'd you get that? And like I said, when you look at Trayvon Diggs. That's the big
Yep.
thing that when he came. Of course, he does guess a lot now with that, but he does a good job of getting the ball. The other guy was with Dallas the next year when he was a rookie. He had all the pick sixes. Um, it comes down to it. Just turnovers is exciting. It gets the offense going, put them in good field position. So, it's I tell people my athletes all the time. It depends on your break. If you get out your break good, you're either going to make a tackle if it's a terrible break. If you have a good break and you get out your break clean, that's interception. So from the get go, I am teaching my um, DBs, linebackers, everybody. I'm judging your breaks off on your ability off of, is it a tackle, is it a pass break or interception? If it's a good, like I said, if it's a good one, you can get interception. I am teaching you how to get to the ball, and that's the thing that you focus on is, hey, turnovers. Just how a defensive lineman focus on get off the ball quick for sacks. Same thing for me in the secondary. I coached Little League before. Hey, our goal was four turnovers a game at 9 years old because that's what helps win the game. And I think they're seeing that, like you said, now on the defensive side of the ball is we need to turn the ball over because it gives you the extra possession. If you give Matt Stafford the ball and don't turn the ball over, you're going to lose.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes, you're going to lose. I mean, like I said, Tom Brady won a lot of championships because guess what? He didn't turn the ball over a lot. If you can get guys now that can help turn the ball over and steal a possession, whether it's 3 points, 10 points, that makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, remarkable work, man. I mean, I've had the pleasure of talking with a lot of former defensive players, and it's just remarkable to me that, just getting like the IQ portion and just being behind the helmet and just really seeing like what are all of the techniques and really what it comes down to is, yeah, getting the possession back. You want your offense up and out there more than you do of your defense because your defense is just going to get wore out and tired
Yeah,
pretty quickly because they're out
absolutely.
there busting their butts every single down. And so, yeah, remarkable work, man. Listen, best of luck to you to continue the fantastic work that you're doing with a lot of these youngsters. And maybe we'll be able to see a lot of these youngsters in the future become potential defensive superstars. I absolutely get
Hopefully so.
excited for that.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anthony, appreciate you for coming on by, man. Enjoy the weather up out there in Florida, man. And we'll see what this draft is really going to do for us here in the next month, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Take care of yourself.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah. It really is remarkable when you start to see like